to approach PWDs with sensitivity and empathy by role-playing with a patient educator who has a disability. For instance, using writing or lip reading to communicate to a patient with hearing loss. And feedback from students has been positive.
We're thinking maybe of expanding to other areas of disability, possibly intellectual disability, under discussion at this point of time.
According to the Social and Family Development Ministry, more than 1 in 10 people here who are 50 years and above have some form of visual, hearing, or mobility disability. And with primary care doctors fulfilling most of the community's health needs, PWDs say this course could help to increase awareness of the issues that they face and improve doctor-patient communication.
For me, I have encountered doctors, even nurses, healthcare professionals that are not aware of my hearing, and sometimes because I'm also in the healthcare field, sometimes when I work with them, they get angry, they get annoyed that I don't respond.
Social and Family Development Minister Masagos Zulkifli urges family service centers to continue working together and keep strengthening their practices. He says this will better address the needs of the community. Ms. Masagos says the government will also continue its efforts to better support those in the social services. You are speaking at an event called We Are FSC held at Tampines. 48 centers have gathered to celebrate their work and discuss ways to better uplift families in need. This includes helping families achieve stability, self-reliance, and social mobility.
Some 600 union leaders of all races gathered tonight for Hari Raya festivities organized by the labor movement's NTUC club. And there were plenty of performances, some by fellow leaders and others by students. Also lots of feasting and mingling to mark the occasion. For everyone here, this was a chance to celebrate, network, and deepen community ties. Also present was President Halima Yacob alongside NTUC Secretary General Ng Chee Meng.
Singapore is looking to its people to take a greater ownership of local culture and heritage. It's part of the country's new master plan to celebrate the nation's history, invest in its legacy, and boost the museum sector. Sherry Locke tells us more.
Katong's Joo Chiat district is famed for its colourful cafes and intricate architecture, but behind the iconic facades are more stories to uncover, and the National Heritage Board is helping this community bring them to life.
We get access to a lot more resources, professional help, so we hope to develop training for our volunteers and people who help us organize the events, and also with Heritage Board's input and resources to bring more maturity to the programs.
The collaboration promises more street corner exhibits, bazaars, and walking tours. Over the next few years, 3 more neighborhoods will get a similar boost.
By working with members of the community, with the general public, we hope to use heritage to instill a greater sense of belonging and also to encourage a greater sense of ownership among Singaporeans for heritage.
2, 1.
The plan takes into account some 72,000 ideas and suggestions from the public.
We have always kept Singaporeans and our communities, which are special, as the central focus in our plans in our effort to safeguard and promote our heritage. After all, our heritage, our past, our treasures, what we see, our practices, they all revolve around Singaporeans and our communities.
It's also enlisting young Singaporeans to create a blueprint to strengthen their own engagement.
The blueprint ideally will help understand what is the youth's perspective on heritage today. How can we create initiatives that connect to the youth?
The master plan builds on recent successes in putting Singapore's heritage on the world map, and efforts to innovate the museum experience. And special museum tours will take visitors as far back as 1887. The tour takes visitors through the Peranakan Museum and highlights artifacts that act as building blocks of Singapore's multicultural identity. For instance, this kabaya, which is a traditional garment worn by many communities here. The heritage plan also entails more support for such craftsmen, in the hopes that the symbols of Singapore's indelible identity live on to inspire future generations.
Well, that's Singapore Tonight. Don't forget headlines anytime at cna.asia.
Plus, you can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Good night.
Warm memories wherever you go. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Tonight, Singapore bank profits hit new highs, but who's in a better position to meet challenges ahead?
Capital is the ultimate buffer.
Will India overtake China as the world's top source of tourists? Plus, this dish of brain cells can play video games, but could it also make computers smarter?
We combine the best of both worlds, of biological and artificial.
Money Mind, tonight at 10:30 p.m.
This June, leap into a futuristic world where imagination, invention, and innovation become reality. What food will we eat in the future when all our resources run dry?
We are losing land.
Meet the modern-day farmers in a race to feed the world.
I want to leave something good for the world.
Gain access to one of the world's busiest airports as we reveal the unseen world and unsung heroes of shipping. Inside Air Cargo. Is it game over for this once successful video gaming giant?
Japan kind of got caught in this trap.
Witness these major players level up and smash through obstacles in Japan's Comeback Game. This June on CNA.
Jakarta's notorious traffic congestion is also a sign of growing prosperity for the capital's 10 million inhabitants. I'm Saiful Bahri Ismail, CNA, Jakarta.
This is Asia Now.
A very good morning. It's 7 a.m. in Singapore and Hong Kong, 4:30 in New Delhi, and 6 o'clock in Jakarta. I'm Shahida Othman. At this hour, ramping up the pressure on Russia, G7 leaders announced fresh sanctions to starve Moscow's war financing as they prepare to meet Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky at the summit in Japan. Syria's Bashar al-Assad is welcomed back into the Arab League after a 12-year exile, representing a major triumph for the once shunned leader. And hopes of a debt ceiling deal hit a stumbling block in the U.S. Wall Street turns lower after talks stall in Washington. The U.S. has announced sanctions on more than 300 targets in a fresh bid to intensify pressure on Russia. Now, the move aims to starve Russia of technology and equipment that support its war machine. It comes ahead of a meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and U.S. President Joe Biden at the G7 meeting tomorrow. The U.S. said the sanctions are aimed at an international network that procures components for making drones, which Russian